BOJ to retain easy policies, staying outside of global tightening tide. The BOJ is keeping its interest rates at -10 in opposition to everybody's tightening. Like the ECB hikes benchmark interest rate for first time since 2011. In a surprise, the ECB raises rates from 0 to 0.5. And in other news, Tesla cashes out 936 million in Bitcoin after a year of crypto turbulence. Crypto winter is coming, Mr. Musk. Winter is coming. Hey, ForexMilitia. Parsival here, going over the week of the 25th to the 29th, and I'm going to go over the prior week, the 17th, the 18th to the 22nd. As I went over in the preview, the Bank of Japan basically is standing pat. They are not tightening. But we've got we got that huge surprise from the ECB. They were slated, they were forecast to basically put out a 0.25, but they put out a 0.50, which is huge, right? And then the PMIs and the core retail sales. Well, as you can see in Europe, they were all bad. Yeah, so, right. The only one that actually came in pretty decent or in line was from the pound. And then we had flash PMI that also came in bad from. So basically, the PMI is the producers. It's basically giving an idea of what the purchasing managers are basically doing. If it's basically expanding, then they're basically looking out to basically do very well within the next couple of quarters. If it's contracting, then they are basically pulling back. And as you can see, they are pulling back, and it's looking very much like they are preparing for a recession. Interestingly enough, in the pound, it raised by a little bit, so apparently they're not seeing that as of yet. But in the US, in Europe, probably say French and German, and the German, they are looking for some contraction. So that's what that is basically saying. Okay, now on to this week. Coming up, we have the biggest news coming out of, is that Jackson Hole? Well, it's basically coming from the FOMC, and they are slated to basically raise to 2.5, a 0.75 basis point rate hike. But it's also thought of that they might raise it by 1 full point. Okay, so besides that, we have the CPI from the Aussie, right? We have consumer confidence also from the US, but from the Aussie, the CPI, to basically see where their inflation is basically at. And on Wednesday, we have the FOMC. On Thursday, we have the advanced GDP, right, for the US, to see where our growth is going. And every month, the core personal consumer expenditure price index. We'll see exactly what people are spending and how that actually plays out. All right. One other thing, I just want to take a look at the interest rate tally, right? The highest so far are the CAD and the Kiwi. They're the highest, then the dollar, then the Aussie, the pound, the euro, the yen, and the Swissy is at the bottom. So looking at this, when we trade, we do want to try to trade with this type of interest rate, because with this in mind, because this is basically setting up a positive swap, but also usually the higher interest rate usually gets the most attention. So that's not always the case, but that is a practice. Okay, so let's get over to the charts, see what we can see. On the dollar still in a long status, going long, but just as of late, it hit that high, that 20-year high, and it backed off, and we got a lower low, lower close candle. So to me, what this looks like is that there's profit taking, and there's going to be a fall down to probably 103. So look for the dollar to basically fall. That in turn, that could actually mean that some of that money might actually come into the stock market. For the US 30, we got higher high, higher close candles up into this order block zone. All right, I'm still looking short. I'm still looking for it to basically fall down to this area, this 2800. We'll see what actually happens, but it could actually rally a bit higher up to about 132.70, 132.270 up in this area, and then probably spike down, hopefully breaking through out of this wedge. On gold is short. For the short term, it is, I have a position on TradingView that I've gone long up into somewhere up into this area, about 1780 up into this area, an order block zone. So but the overall direction on this is short. Okay, it's still above the 200. So most likely what it'll do is it'll fall all the way down to here, the 200, and it'll probably start to coil around that. As you can see on the COT, it's still long, heavy reduction to long and large addition to shorts. On Bitcoin is slightly short, adding longs, adding to shorts. All right, so it's a small addition to longs, but they're definitely adding to their short positions. So as this basically rises, most likely crypto winter is here, right? And it's basically looking to basically fall, and the way how it looks like, it's gonna fall all the way down to 10,000. Excuse me. Or lower. On oil, we have long, reducing longs and reducing shorts. And so on oil, this is right now kind of it. Okay, well, it came off the highs. That's a good thing, right? But now it's looking like it's going to fall down to the position where I am looking for it to get to, down around this 60 points. But first it has to get through some barriers. So it has to fall through the 80s, and then through the 70s to get to the 60s. And probably it'll bounce off of the 200 right here. That's the yellow line. Okay, on the CAD, it basically did what I believe it would. It did. It bounced off the 200. It bounced off of this support resistance line, this overbought oversold line, and what happens is it's going to probably trend lower. As you can see, it's still the CAD is actually long, okay, and they're adding to longs and reducing shorts. I'll put the COT up, the report up, so you can basically see it. So now I believe that this is basically going to fall, and as you can see, it actually bounced off of here, and in sympathy with what the dollar is basically doing, this should fall down to probably around the 125 or something like that. On the euro, it is short, and they're reducing their longs and adding to the shorts. But like I said earlier, on the dollar right now is moving short. Okay, so we've got that in tow, and so this will probably bounce up higher, coming up into this order block zone, and possibly hit this order block up here, because this was definitely a breaker structure. And on the pound, we are still short, and once again, the dollar being short like it is, it's probably going to bounce up to around here, and or up to here, which would be amazing, because it would hit this monthly resistance and this overbought oversold line, and bounce off and then come back down. That would be 125 from that would be about 500 pips. So as you can see also on some of my indicators, there is bullish divergence coming in, so we will look to see if that actually completes. And with that, I will say knowledge is power. Be power hungry and power to the people. If you like this content, please like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you in next week's weekly outlook. This is Parsival, always telling you that the closest thing to the Holy Grail is following the smart money. I'm signing out.